Oracle has a one nice feature. That feature is basically related with the database block. In the database block, there is a percentage of free space. So the terminology used for the free space is percentage free. We can call this one as PCT free. PCT free is basically a terminology or a parameter used in the creation of table spaces for the performance purposes. तो परफॉर्मेंस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से एक हमारे पास एक अच्छी टेक्नोलॉजी पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से पैरामीटर है जिसकी स्पेस और जिसकी एडजस्टमेंट को मैनेज किया जाता है। तो पीसीटी फ्री नॉर्मली ये स्पेस रखी गई है जो कि फ्लेक्सिबल टू मे बी 5% और 10% और 20% को एडजस्ट किया जाता है और ये परफॉर्मेंस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से डाटे को एक्सेस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से फास्टली मैनेज करती है। तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल हम लोग पहले डिस्कस करेंगे व्हाट इज़ फ्री स्पेस इन डाटा ब्लॉक। फिर हम करेंगे डाटा ब्लॉक और ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम की आपस में इंटरेक्शन क्या है, परसेंटेज ऑफ फ्री स्पेस इन डाटा ब्लॉक्स कैसे मैनेज करते हैं और इसी तरीके से पीसीटी फ्री स्पेस इन डाटा ब्लॉक कैसे है, ऑप्टिमाइजिंग ऑफ फ्री स्पेस यानी उसको किस तरीके से ऑप्टिमाइजिंग या उसकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग हम कैसे बिल्डअप करेंगे, री यूज़ ऑफ इंडेक्स स्पेस और इसी तरीके से रो माइग्रेशन एट द एंड उसको हम कैसे कैटर करेंगे। So, as database fills a data block from the bottom up, the amount of free space between the raw data and the block header decreases. This free space can also shrink during the updates, as when changing a trailing null to non-null values. The database manages free space in the database block to optimize performance and wasted space. So this is basically a tuning feature, and this is very important tuning feature. And during the database tuning point of view, one way to understand, one way to adjust, or one way to alter the table space by using PCT free. So what is data block and what is operating system blocks? At the physical level, database data is stored in the disk files made up of operating system blocks. An operating system block is basically minimum unit of storage of data for read and write at the operating system level. In contrast, Oracle block is a logical storage structure, basically whose value, whose size and structure are known to the operating system. So the other word we can say that operating system does not know what is the size and what is the configuration of database block. So within the database, it is managed logically separately within this environment. So what exactly and how the data block works. So PCT free basically parameter essential to how the database manages free space. SQL parameter sets the minimum percentage of data block reserved for the free space. PCT free is very important for preventing row migration and avoiding wasted spaces. So what is PCT free space in data block? So if you look at on the left hand side, we have a data block which basically consists of 5 different partitions, and this data block is basically has PCTV for example 20% space. So block allows all row inserts until 80% is occupied, leaving 20% free for updates and existing. So for the any kind of data modifications, 20% is normally keeping this one for manageable place for the updates. PCT free normally is not applied for the very large objects data types. So let's see, we have a SQL statement which is basically DDL command, and this DDL command we have used this feature while creating the table space. It is an optional one and someone can use it and someone cannot use it, this one, or if you want we can make it PCT free as 0. So we are managing extend management dictionary default storage. Based on this one, we can manage this one. So the flexibility of this free space, it depends upon how fast and where exactly lots of updates, data modifications are going on. On that basis, DBA decide. So what PCT free needs to be adjusted at this particular point. So optimizing of free space means that we should adjust this one for 20%, for example, prevents the total amount of free space from dropping to 5% of the block, but permits 50% of the block to be free. So this is basically how the optimization is working. The following SQL statements can increase the PCT-free kind of details. For example, delete statements, update statements that either update existing values to the smaller values. Similarly, insert statements on a table that basically used for OLTP compressions. If inserts fill a block with data, then the database invokes block compression. So therefore, the compression purposes point of view, delete, update, and insert are very important. The space in released is available for insert under the following conditions. If insert statement is in the same transaction, after the statements that free space, then the statement can use that particular space. If the insert statement is in the separate transaction from the statement that free space, then this statement can use the space made available only after the other transactions. So how we can use the reuse of index space? The database can reuse space within an index block. For example, if you insert a value in a some column and delete it, and if an index exists on this particular column, then the database can reuse the index slot when the row requires it. So at the end, we can say that on the left hand side, we have a database block. So database block is basically consists of various chunks like free space, but it is fragmented kind of thing. Some blocks are available there, some basically are not available, some are with some gaps or something. To manage this one, the row that is updated, so that row is now too large for the block, the database moves the entire row to the right block and leaves a pointer to the migrated row in the left block. So this is basically how migration is performed from various chunks of the block. So how data is stored on the right hand side in the row area or updated row form. So that's basically one way to migrate this one from one place to their place. So this basically is called a hash kind of a condensed storage place.